Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we are diving into a massive physical roadblock that is currently hitting the AI boom right in its tracks, and we'll look at how a company called Bloom Energy is aggressively pivoting to solve it. If you've been following the explosive growth of artificial intelligence, it's obvious the software is advancing at breakneck speed, but what about the physical infrastructure required to actually keep it all running? Let me ask you something. Everyone in tech is obsessing over right now. Who is actually going to win the AI race? Is it the company with the smartest large language models? The designer of the most advanced silicon chips? It's really easy to get caught up in the digital side of this revolution and completely forget the physical reality that makes it all possible. Bloom Energy CEO K.R. Sridhar actually hit the nail on the head with this quote: "The AI race will be won by electricity, not algorithms." The ultimate winner of the AI era won't just be decided by who writes the best code, but by who can actually secure and control the massive amounts of power supply required to run these digital factories. Electricity is literally the most critical input into the AI ecosystem, and right now, well, it's in critically short supply. Here is our roadmap for today. We're covering the AI power crisis, the broken power grid, the pivot to on-site power, Bloom Energy's fuel cells, their billion-dollar AI partnerships, and finally, the digital electricity era. All right, let's jump right into part one, the AI power crisis. Look, the sheer scale of these modern facilities is, well, it's honestly a bit intimidating. Projections from Bloom Energy's 2026 Data Center Power Report show total U.S. IT load capacity roughly doubling. We're talking going from 80 gigawatts in 2025 to 150 gigawatts by 2028. That is more than twice the level projected in forecasts from just 2 years prior. We aren't just building more data centers, we're building exponentially larger ones to handle these insane AI workloads. To really wrap your head around that scale, the report notes that by 2035, nearly a third of all new data center campuses are expected to exceed 1 gigawatt in size. Now, what does a 1 gigawatt campus actually look like? Imagine taking roughly 20% of New York City's entire electricity load and giving it to a single data center campus, just one. When you realize the amount of power required, it makes total sense why power availability has moved from being just a simple planning consideration to the defining boundary on data center growth. Which brings us right to section 2, the broken power grid. So we've got this massive conflict playing out. You have the hyperscalers, the tech giants building these AI factories, expecting power immediately. But utility companies simply can't deliver it that fast. Survey data is showing a brutal 1.5 to 2 year delay gap between developer expectations and utility reality. And in the big legacy tech hubs like Northern Virginia, the Bay Area, and Atlanta, this timeline gap is actually widening as permitting and interconnection queues just pile up. Because of this severe grid constraint, we're watching a massive geographic shift happen in real time. Legacy data center markets like California and Oregon are expected to lose more than 50% of their relative market share. Meanwhile, power-friendly states are absolutely booming. Texas is projected to gain a staggering 142% in market share by 2028, potentially exceeding 40 gigawatts of capacity on its own. Capital is just ruthlessly concentrating in regions where large blocks of power can actually be secured. And that widening delay pushes us right into section 3. The pivot to on-site power. Check this out. Expectations for 100% on-site power data centers have jumped to 33% by 2030. That is a massive 22% increase in expectations in just the last 6 months alone. What you should really take away from this is that permanent on-site generation is no longer viewed as just a temporary band-aid until the grid catches up. It's becoming the preferred long-term strategy for tech giants to control their own destiny. Let's move on to section 4, Bloom Energy's fuel cells. The technology driving this whole pivot is the solid oxide fuel cell. Instead of burning fuel in a traditional, highly polluting combustion engine, these fuel cells generate electricity chemically. This electrochemical reaction can run on natural gas, biogas, or hydrogen, which makes it incredibly clean. Plus, because you avoid local emissions, you also dodge the years of regulatory and permitting red tape that usually bog down traditional power plants. These Bloom Energy servers are sleek, metallic, modular units that honestly look like they belong inside a data center, rather than at a smokestack power plant. Because they're modular, they can be deployed incredibly fast to generate highly resilient 24/7 power right at the point of consumption. That completely eliminates the need to build massive new transmission lines. The sheer performance metrics here are exactly why developers are flocking to Bloom Energy. Remember that 2-year utility delay we talked about earlier? Well, in contrast, Bloom can ship these 10-megawatt building blocks in just 50 days. 50 days! They offer a staggering 99.999% uptime, and because they're modular, developers can seamlessly stack them to scale up to 500 plus megawatts per site. It's the speed, reliability, and scale that perfectly aligns with the urgency of the AI boom. All right, Section 5, billion-dollar AI partnerships. Bloom is out there locking in some absolutely staggering mega deals. I mean, we're talking about a massive $25 billion with a B dollar partnership with Brookfield to co-develop integrated facilities where fuel cells function as the primary power plant. There's also a $2.65 billion deal with American Electric Power for up to 1 gigawatt of fuel cells. They even delivered 50 megawatts to Oracle in a record-breaking 55 days. And on top of that, a 500 megawatt global sales agreement with SK EcoPlant. These are not pilot programs. This is massive industrial scale deployment. And you can really see the impact of this. Because of these huge partnerships, Bloom Energy reported a record-shattering 130% year-over-year revenue growth in Q1 of 2026. That was driven by a stunning 208% growth in product revenue. The bottom line here, Bloom has officially transitioned from being a promising player in a clean tech niche into a critical infrastructure giant powering the hyperscaler economy. Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, the digital electricity era. Bloom's CEO makes a really fascinating distinction here. He contrasts traditional mechanical electricity, spinning turbines that are centralized, aging, and unavailable roughly 10% of the year, with what AI actually needs. Mechanical power is structurally incapable of serving the pulsing, intense demands of AI. Instead, we need digital electricity. These solid oxide fuel cells are modular, hot-swappable boxes that ramp in milliseconds, providing the near-perfect 99.999% uptime that digital factories demand. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on today. As we keep pushing the limitless boundaries of artificial intelligence software, the physical real-world limits of our grid are forcing a complete rewrite of how we build digital infrastructure. Moving forward, is the true engine of this AI revolution actually going to be the decentralized digital electricity we generate on site? It is a pretty wild paradigm shift. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.